Folks, we had just made a video talking about the recently completed New York Rangers and Colorado trade. So, why not dive in there and talk about a team that was linked to both of them in this video commentary over here. Now, I'm going to say this at the beginning of the video. This information, quote-unquote, that we're talking about, this scoop, this angle, we do have conflicting reports about it. The folks on BPM Sports Talk Radio, in particular Renaud Lavoie, is saying that this happened. But you have Rick Dhaliwal on the other side, Vancouver reporter, Vancouver insider, the best in the business, saying that it did not happen. So, let's go out there and read what this video clip on the BPM Sports podcast that Renaud Lavoie was on Le Club du Matin. This is what Lavoie ended up saying, that JT Miller was potentially involved in a Colorado Avalanche trade, but that JT himself nixed the deal. Let's translate the page here to English. The turning point in the Mikko Rantanen trade, was it JT Miller? And because this clip is in French, we're not going to transcribe it and read it. That's kind of tough to do. But if we dive into what was posted about on Twitter here, Jim Lathy, Hockey Night in Canada, posted this image. According to Renaud Lavoie, JT Miller rejected a trade to the Avalanche before being traded to the Rangers, according to Lavoie. Now, if you scroll up and you look at Taj's tweet, this is from the podcast, the Avalanche apparently thought they were going to get Miller, and that's one of the reasons they traded Mikko Rantanen. JT Miller refused to go to Colorado, and he only wanted to go back out east, Renaud Lavoie said. And we do have conflicting reports, because immediately after, and the podcast is linked here too, Taj did his job in putting the source in the proper spot there, you had Rick Dhaliwal go out there and say, hey, Miller refusing to go to Colorado is false. And this is, of course, something that we had heard about throughout the course of the season as well, that JT Miller would have been accepting to go to teams like New York or Pittsburgh or potentially Colorado. I think even Elliot Friedman was talking about the idea of Miller in Colorado at some point throughout the year. But Rick Dhaliwal is directly challenging what Renaud Lavoie said on the podcast, and a lot of people are going out there and saying, like, hey, that's not what Renaud Lavoie said. Renaud Lavoie said the opposite. Yeah, Renaud talked about Mikko possibly getting traded in season prior to it happening. He's usually money. The reason why this is important is because the idea of a Mikko Rantanen trade, look, absolutely nobody thought it was going to happen. Up until the time it actually did happen, we all said, okay, yeah, no, Colorado's going to find a way to extend Rantanen. It's going to happen. We all had that foregone conclusion in our minds. We had no perception or even inkling of an idea that Mikko Rantanen could get traded. Renaud Lavoie was one of the only guys actually talking about it happening. Now, okay, like, does that mean that this information is 100% fact? I'm not sure. Who knows? This also being reported by Rick Dhaliwal was something that we had seen earlier, so I don't know what to believe at this point, but just for the sake of argument, just for the sake of bringing up the timeline, let's dive into this idea here, because we do recognize that the JT Miller trade over to the New York Rangers happened after the Mikko Rantanen trade, right? We all remember this. We remember that Mikko Rantanen was traded to Carolina, and then we were talking about how the Carolina Hurricanes almost had a deal for Pettersson or Miller on the table the day beforehand. Like, it all checks out here. If Colorado was saying, all right, yeah, we can trade away Mikko Rantanen, we can get Marty Necas, and then we'll make this other trade with Vancouver to get JT Miller, so we're going to go from Rantanen to Miller, Necas, and Drury. That's going to really set our team up, and then we're going to make this trade for Ryan Lindgren with the Rangers, etc., etc., maybe get some other players too, who really knows. And, of course, if the tea leaves are to be believed, Colorado would have probably sent Casey Mittelstadt and a first-round pick to Vancouver. Maybe the Canucks just pull off the JT Miller trade to New York, but you replace the New York Rangers with the Colorado Avalanche. Let's dive into the trade itself and see the assets that were swapped around. Do we have, like, a graph here? No, we don't. The Rangers send Filipino, Victor Mancini, and a conditional first to Vancouver for Miller, Bronstrom, and Jackson Dorrington. Let's say Vancouver doesn't send Erik Bronstrom back to Colorado. They don't want to do that. The Avalanche are like, yeah, we're done with that guy. You could take him, you could keep him, but they get JT Miller. Okay. If the Colorado Avalanche send Casey Mittelstadt, plus a younger D-man prospect, and a conditional first, I honestly do think that the Canucks had the better deal on the table with the Rangers. Mostly because, if it were up to me, I mean, Casey Mittelstadt versus Filipino, I do like Filipino a little bit more just based off of what he brings. I know that Mittelstadt is on pace for more points. I know he has been a more capable center in the past. But I don't know, I think like team dynamic-wise, Filipino fits a little bit better than Casey Mittelstadt does. There's a lot to like out of Filipino's speed and his play-driving ability. When he is healthy, he is one of the best and noticeable players on the ice every given shift, and I don't know, Casey Mittelstadt, I think there's a lot of folks in Canuckland that would have been maybe slightly turned off at the idea of acquiring him. A lot of people have been focusing on his inability to really take the next step because we recognize that as a 8th overall pick, back in the 2017 draft, there were sky-high expectations for Filipino, especially after that World Junior run where he was an absolute superstar. But aside from that, I mean, 59-point season just a few years ago with Buffalo, there's a lot to like in terms of the point production from prior years. This season, though, he has taken a little bit of a step back. You could say he has not fit with the Colorado Avalanche too much, despite having a near point-per-game playoff run last year. I don't know. Maybe statistically wise, Casey Mittelstadt would have been the better pickup for Vancouver over Filipino, but I just think based off of what we're seeing right now, I like Hedl, I like Victor Mancini. I don't know if Colorado would have had a defensive prospect they would have been willing to part ways with that has been as impactful as a Victor Mancini, plus a first-round pick as well. So if we assume that JT Miller said no to a Colorado Avalanche trade, which kind of blue-balled the Avs, saying, hey, like, we thought we were going to get Miller. That's why we traded away Rantanen to get Necas. Like, did JT Miller just screw over the Colorado Avalanche with this? I mean, if we're going to believe that Renaud Lavoie's report is 100% fact, there was an idea floating around that Miller could go to Colorado, so I don't know what to believe. Miller refusing to go to Colorado is false, Dhaliwal says. That's always going to be the roadblock here. We have conflicting reports between two of our favorite R insiders, Rick Dhaliwal and Renaud Lavoie. The R's going out there with reports. Now, just to end off this video, because I know some folks are going to be inclined to talking about this. It's all gonna happen in the comments section. I just know it. JT is doing very well with the New York Rangers right now. A lot better than Elias Pettersson is doing in Vancouver. JT has 10 points in 9 Rangers games. And, I mean, you look at the point production after the Four Nations face-off, he's got 2, 4, 6 points in 4 games here. And the team is finding ways to win. JT is doing all that with 15, 19, 16-minute games here. He is a total stud for the New York Rangers, and he has been one of the more productive guys on the team ever since the trade. It's almost like he wasn't the problem. Okay, no, we're not going to go out there and say that. We are not going to start entertaining the idea that the Vancouver Canucks traded away the wrong guy, even though I know that is a very common talking point on social media, in the replies of these videos. I absolutely know that, so yeah. He's doing well in New York. He would have done well in Colorado. I have no doubt about that. Imagine if Colorado was able to get McKinnon, Necas, and Miller on a power play, plus Makar. Like, all the M's. McKinnon, Marty, Miller, Makar, Mittelstadt. Hey, you could have a quintuple M line on the PP there. But ultimately, it did not happen because according to Renaud Lavoie, JT might have really screwed over the Avalanche by not accepting a trade to go over there. Who knows? Apparently he wanted to go back east, according to Lavoie. So I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these conflicting reports. Miller refusing to go to Colorado is false. Miller did not want to go to Colorado and only wanted to go back east. What do you believe? What do you think the tail of the tape would have been if the Canucks made an Avalanche Miller trade? Would you have preferred Casey Mittelstadt to Filipino? Do you think there's another defenseman that the Avalanche could have sent to Vancouver that would have fulfilled the role of Victor Mancini? Let me know in the comment section what do you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.